Tell me the truth, David. Are you cheating on me? Nina's voice cracked as she stood at the edge of their king-sized bed, her fingers gripping the hem of her silk nightgown. She had asked this question before. Many times. And every time, David's response was the same, a sigh, dismissive glance, and an excuse wrapped in cold words. I'm just tired. Nina, that night, she didn't believe him. She couldn't. How could a man be tired for 6 months straight? 6 months of turning his back on her. 6 months of excuses. 6 months of feeling invisible in her own marriage. She slid onto the bed, pressing her warm body against his back. Maybe tonight will be different. Her fingers traced the muscles of his arm, her lips brushing against his neck. But the moment she reached for him, he pulled away. Nina, stop. His voice was sharp, almost irritated. The rejection hit her like a slap. Why? She whispered, her breath shaky. I told you, I'm not in the mood. His words were final. He turned off the bedside lamp, leaving her in darkness. But inside her, a storm raged. Something snapped in Nina that night. If David wouldn't touch her, if he wouldn't acknowledge her as his wife, then she would make him see her, feel her, whether he wanted to or not, and that was the moment she decided. She wouldn't take no for an answer anymore. Nina lay in bed, staring at the ceiling as rage twisted inside her like a burning rope tightening around her throat. The sound of David's slow, steady breathing filled the room, proof that he had denied her once again and gone to sleep as if nothing had happened. I'm just tired. The same excuse. The same cold rejection. Nina turned onto her side, her heart hammering in her chest. Lies? All lies. A man doesn't avoid his wife for 6 months unless he's getting it somewhere else. That had to be the truth. But with who? And why? Had she done something wrong? Had she become undesirable to him? She gritted her teeth, gripping the silk sheet so hard her knuckles turned white. She had been patient. She had asked nicely. She had begged, seduced, and even tried to ignore it. But David's rejection had become a knife cutting deeper into her self-worth every night. No more. A dangerous thought crawled into her mind. What if I take control? She turned onto her side, watching his body rise and fall with each breath. If he wouldn't touch her willingly, if he wouldn't love her the way she needed, she would make him remember who she was. The idea sent a thrill through her veins. But was she ready to cross that line? Morning arrived like an unwelcome guest. The golden rays of the sun streamed through the blinds. Yet the chill in the bedroom remained. Nina sat at the vanity, brushing her long black hair with slow, deliberate strokes. David was in the shower, oblivious to the storm brewing within her. She had spent the night thinking, replaying every moment of their marriage in her head. The love they once shared. The passion. And now? He wouldn't even look at her. Was it work stress? Another woman? Or had he simply stopped loving her? She refused to be discarded. When David stepped out of the bathroom, a towel wrapped around his waist, Nina turned to him with a smile. Good morning, darling, she said, her voice dripping with sweetness. He barely glanced at her. Morning. She walked toward him, standing between him and the closet. Let's have dinner tonight. Just us? No work, no distractions, David sighed, rubbing his temple. I'll try, Nina. But I have a lot going on at work. A lie. She saw it in his eyes. You always have work, David. But what about me, Nina? Not now, not now. Not ever. As he tried to step past her, she grabbed his arm. Her nails dug into his skin, and for the first time in months, he truly looked at her. Do you even love me anymore? She asked, her voice shaking. He hesitated. And that hesitation was her answer. Nina felt something inside her shatter. You know what, David? Forget dinner. Forget everything. She laughed bitterly. You don't have to worry about me anymore. David frowned, but said nothing as he dressed and left for work. Nina stood there, seething. He had no idea what was coming. That night, Nina transformed. She wore the dress she knew he loved, the one that hugged every curve of her body. She prepared his favorite meal, lit candles, and poured expensive wine into crystal glasses. When David walked in, he stopped, surprised. "What's all this?" Nina smiled, her eyes dark with something unreadable. "I wanted to surprise you." She watched him closely as he loosened his tie. He didn't seem impressed. Not even slightly tempted. "I told you, Nina. I'm tired." The final rejection, something inside her twisted, coiling like a venomous snake ready to strike. "Fine." She picked up a wine glass, swirling the red liquid. "Then let's drink to our failing marriage." David sighed, but took the glass. What he didn't know was that she had added something extra, a little sleeping aid, just enough to make him weak, make him vulnerable. As he drank, she watched, her pulse pounding. Tonight, David wouldn't be the one in control. As the effects of the wine took hold, David swayed slightly. "Nina, I don't feel so good." She smiled sweetly. "Relax, darling. Just let go." He tried to stand, but his legs gave way, and he collapsed onto the bed. Nina climbed onto the mattress, her heart racing. Finally, he won't reject me." But then, she saw his face. His eyes were hazy, confused, and helpless. He looked at her not with lust, not with anger, but with something worse, disappointment. Her fingers trembled. "Nina, what are you doing?" His voice was weak. She hesitated. Was this what she wanted? Was this how she wanted him? A tear slipped down her cheek as realization hit her like a tidal wave. She didn't want to force him. She wanted him to want her, but now, she had already gone too far. The next morning, David was gone. Nina woke to an empty bed, her heart hammering. She rushed downstairs and found him packing a bag. "David, wait. Please, let's talk." He turned to her, his eyes colder than she had ever seen. "There's nothing to talk about, Nina. You crossed a line." Her knees went weak. "I just wanted you to love me again, and this is how you do it." His voice was full of disgust. "I can't even look at you." Panic clawed at her chest. "Please, don't leave me." David shook his head. "I already have." And just like that, he walked out the door, leaving Nina alone with the consequences of her actions. Days turned into weeks, and David never returned. Nina spiraled into regret. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. The house felt like a prison. One night, she picked up her phone and dialed his number. Voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. She had pushed too hard. And now, she had lost him forever. But then, a thought struck her. If she couldn't have him back the easy way, she'd just have to make him come back, no matter what it took. Nina stared at the empty space in the closet where David's clothes used to be. His cologne still lingered in the air. A cruel reminder that he had been hers once. Now, he was gone. Her fingers curled into fists. No. She wouldn't let this be the end. David thought he could just walk away. That he could erase her like a mistake. "You belong to me, David," she whispered. "And I'm going to make you remember that." Nina wiped her tears and grabbed her phone. If begging didn't work, if seduction failed, then she'd find another way. She needed a plan, and she knew exactly where to start. Days passed. David didn't call. Didn't text. Nina stalked his social media, but it was dry. No updates. No clues. Then she had a thought. Where is he staying? She called his office, disguising her voice. "Hello, this is Stephanie from the financial department. I need to confirm Mr. Carter's current billing address for payroll." The receptionist hesitated. "I'm not supposed to give that information." Nina faked a laugh. "Oh, I totally understand. It's just that payroll flagged something, and if I don't fix it, he might not get his salary this month." A pause. Then the receptionist sighed. "He updated his address last week." "Let me check." Nina held her breath. "Here it is. 1204 Oak Ridge Apartments, downtown." Gotcha. That evening, Nina parked across the street from David's new apartment. She waited, hours passed. Then, at 11 p.m., she saw him. David stepped out of his building, and he wasn't alone. A woman walked beside him, laughing at something he said. She was young, blonde, and beautiful. Nina's blood turned to ice. So this is why you left me? The woman touched his arm, and something snapped inside Nina. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The next day, Nina waited outside David's workplace. When he stepped out for lunch, she appeared in front of him like a ghost. Nina. His face darkened. We need to talk, David sighed. There's nothing to talk about. Nina stepped closer, her voice low. Who is she? David didn't answer. You replaced me that fast, she hissed. You replaced yourself, Nina. The moment you tried to control me, it was over. Her chest tightened. I love you, you don't love me. You love owning me. His words cut deep. Go home, Nina. Move on. She watched him walk away. No, she wasn't done yet. That night, Nina stood outside David's apartment. She had stolen a copy of his keys months ago. A secret he never knew, and tonight, she would use them. Heart pounding, she slid the key into the lock. The door opened. She stepped inside. The apartment smelled like him. Fresh. Masculine. Familiar, and then she saw it, a woman's purse on the couch. She's here. Footsteps echoed down the hall. The bedroom door opened. David stepped out, shirtless, his eyes widened. Nina. What the hell are you doing here? She smiled. Coming home. David's muscles tensed as he stared at Nina standing in his living room. His pulse pounded. How did you get in here? He demanded. Nina twirled the spare key in her fingers, her lips curling into a smirk. I never really left, David. You can't just erase me. David's face hardened. Give me the key and get out. Nina's eyes flashed with something wild. Why? So you can run to her. She stepped closer, trailing her fingers down his chest. We were perfect once, weren't we? Her voice was soft, seductive. You used to love me. You can love me again. David grabbed her wrist. This isn't love, Nina. This is control. And I won't be controlled anymore. Her breath hitched. You don't mean that. I do. His grip tightened. You need help. The words sliced through her. Help? Was he serious? Before she could respond, a voice came from the hallway. David? Who are you talking to? The blonde woman. Nina's face twisted in rage. She was the reason David had turned cold. A surge of madness took over. She pushed David back, grabbed a glass from the table, and hurled it against the wall. You ruined us, she screamed. The blonde woman gasped as she stepped into the room. Who is this? She asked, her eyes darting between them. David stood firm. She's leaving, Nina laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. I'm not going anywhere. David grabbed his phone. Then I'll call the police. Nina froze. The police? You would really do that to her? She took a shaky step back. You'd throw me away like garbage, she whispered. You threw yourself away, Nina. His voice was cold, her vision blurred with tears. The truth was too heavy to bear. She had lost him, not because of another woman. Not because of bad luck, but because of herself. The next morning, Nina sat on her bed, staring at her reflection. The woman in the mirror was a stranger. Dark circles. Messy hair. Hollow eyes. Was this who she had become? Obsession had rotted her from the inside out. She had spent so long trying to control David that she had lost control of herself. She needed to let go. For the first time in years, she picked up her phone and dialed a number she had been avoiding. Hello, Mom. Her voice cracked. Nina? Honey, what's wrong? She exhaled. I think I need help. Her mother didn't hesitate. Come home. We'll fix this together. And for the first time in a long time, Nina felt hope. 3 months later, Nina walked through the park, feeling the crisp autumn air on her skin. Therapy had been brutal. Facing her demons had been painful. But she was healing. She was finally learning that love wasn't about ownership. It wasn't about winning. She glanced up and froze. David was there, sitting on a bench. Alone, their eyes met. For a moment, the past threatened to pull her under, but then she took a deep breath and smiled, a real, genuine smile. David nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. They had both moved on, and for the first time, that didn't hurt, it felt right. Obsession is not love. Trying to control someone will only push them away. True love is about respect, freedom, and mutual happiness, not ownership. Healing starts when you accept the truth and choose to let go.
Please subscribe, like, comment and share this video. It means a lot to us. Thank you.